Christine and Janelle just unleashed the most savage, uncensored demolition of Kody Brown that reality television has ever seen. And here's the shocking part. He can't escape it. He can't reframe it. He can't manipulate the story anymore because everything they revealed was recorded on camera, transmitted to millions, and now the entire planet understands exactly what type of husband and father he truly is. Imagine the setting. Two women who devoted decades attempting to make plural marriage succeed, sitting together, finally liberated to express their reality without fear of his fury or Robyn's emotional breakdowns. The studio lighting is intense. The cameras are capturing everything. And for the first time in years, Christine and Janelle aren't restraining themselves. They're not safeguarding his reputation. They're not minimizing the suffering. They're simply revealing the truth, and that truth is completely obliterating him. The instant Christine opened up about her emotions, you could sense the atmosphere change in the room. She looked straight into the camera and confessed something that had to wound Kody to his foundation. She stated she couldn't be in love with who he is now. Not who he was, not the man she wed, but the individual he's transformed into. She discussed how he used to be brave, how he used to be someone she respected, and how that man has entirely vanished. The studio audience was quiet, completely quiet, because everyone viewing knew they were witnessing something monumental. But Christine wasn't done. She went even deeper, confessing that she's not attracted to him anymore. Not physically, not emotionally, not in any manner that counts. And the way she expressed it, there was no rage, no resentment, just complete apathy. That's what makes it so crushing. She's not battling for him. She's not attempting to wound him. She's simply progressed, and he's become insignificant to her contentment. Then Janelle entered with her own explosive revelation, and honestly, it might have been even more brutal. Because while Christine's admission was emotional and unfiltered, Janelle's was frigid, composed, and harshly factual. She confessed that she hasn't seen Kody in 10 months. 10 months? Let that register. They're technically still married, still legally connected together in some spiritual capacity, but he hasn't entered her house for almost a year. And here's the aspect that has to be consuming him internally. She doesn't miss him, not even slightly. Janelle portrayed the moment Kody stormed out after their enormous fight in December. And instead of feeling shattered or crushed, she felt liberation. She literally stated it felt like a burden had been removed off her shoulders. The man she devoted over 20 years with departed from her life, and her initial emotion was freedom. Not grief, not loss, just pure, undeniable liberation. But here's where it gets even more embarrassing for Kody. The genuine humiliation isn't just that. Christine and Janelle abandoned him. It's that they substituted him with each other. They've constructed a bond so powerful, so unbreakable, that Kody has become completely unnecessary in their lives, and they ensured the entire planet knew it on live television. Christine and Janelle sat there together, discussing their future together. Not as part of Kody's family, not as members of his plural marriage experiment, but as sister wives who selected each other over him. They're organizing road trips together. They're co-parenting their children together. They're constructing a life that doesn't include him whatsoever. And they're not even pretending to be sorrowful about it. Janelle stated something that had to feel like a blade in Kody's chest. She informed Christine that the people she would be most devastated to lose are Christine and her children. Not Kody, not Robyn, not even Mary, who she admitted she hasn't communicated with in almost a year. The only family that matters to Janelle anymore is Christine and their children. The husband who was supposed to be the center of their plural family has been completely erased from the equation. And Christine reflected those same sentiments right back. She discussed how their children are so connected, how they've established this core family unit that doesn't need Kody's participation to operate. She even stated that if she ever gets remarried, Janelle comes as a package deal. Think about that for a second. Christine is already organizing her next relationship, and the non-negotiable requirement is that her future partner accepts her bond with Janelle. Kody couldn't even keep one wife satisfied, and Christine's already establishing standards for the next man that include respecting her sister-wife connection. The chemistry between Christine and Janelle during this interview was obvious. They were laughing together, completing each other's sentences, supporting each other through every revelation. They looked joyful, genuinely, authentically joyful, and that joy had nothing to do with Kody. In fact, their happiness seemed to exist specifically because he's no longer in the picture. Janelle characterized their relationship as cemented together, stating nothing would separate them. Christine called Janelle her person, the relationship she'd battled to protect above all others. They've reclaimed the term sister wives and made it about female solidarity, mutual respect, and genuine friendship. Everything Kody's version of plural marriage failed to deliver. But here's the aspect that has to hurt the most. They're not just progressing from Kody. They're flourishing without him. Christine took Janelle on a road trip to Idaho where Janelle operated an ATV for the first time in her life. They're establishing new memories, experimenting with new experiences, and living life on their own terms. Meanwhile, Kody's stuck in Flagstaff with Robyn, observing his legacy disintegrate on national television. The message was crystal clear. They don't need him. They never really did. And now the whole world knows it, but the truly devastating admissions were only just starting. Christine Brown has always been the emotional core of the family, the wife who attempted the hardest to make plural marriage succeed, the woman who believed in Kody's vision even when it was collapsing. So when she finally expressed her truth on national television, it carried a significance that nobody could disregard. And what she stated about Kody, it was completely devastating. She started by addressing something Kody had apparently thrown in her face during one of their arguments. He'd accused her of not being a good sister wife, and you could see the frustration appear across Christine's face as she discussed it. She responded on camera stating she was a perfectly fine sister wife. The problem wasn't her. The problem was that Kody's definition of a good sister wife apparently meant someone who worshipped Robyn, and Christine simply wasn't willing to do that. But then Christine went deeper, and this is where Kody's carefully constructed image started to completely shatter. She admitted that she's not close with Robyn, never has been, and she stated it with such finality, such complete acceptance, that it was clear there's no repairing that relationship ever. She called the idea that Robyn has somehow been a victim the hardest thing to overcome, and her tone suggested she doesn't think it's even worth attempting to overcome anymore. Then came the admission that had to completely destroy Kody. Christine looked at Janelle and stated something she'd clearly been containing for years. She stated she couldn't be in love with who Kody is now, not the man he used to be, not some idealized version of him, but the actual person he's transformed into. She characterized him as less courageous, less of the man she originally fell for, and completely different from the husband she married. The way Christine discussed Kody's transformation was chilling. She stated he used to be courageous, implying that now he's a coward. She stated he's vastly different than he used to be, and not in a positive way. The warmth she once felt for him has been replaced by something cold and distant. She admitted she's not attracted to anybody like who he is now, and the emphasis on those words made it clear she was discussing specifically about him. Janelle agreed immediately, jumping in to state that Kody isn't the same person anymore. She reflected Christine's sentiment that she doesn't even know who he is these days. Two women who devoted decades married to this man, who raised children with him, who constructed their entire lives around his plural marriage dream, are now publicly stating that the man they married has disappeared and been replaced by someone they don't even recognize. Christine's voice cracked slightly when she discussed realizing that maybe that's what changed. Maybe that's why the marriage suddenly stopped working for her, because the man she loved no longer exists. He's been replaced by someone she can't respect, can't admire, and definitely can't be married to. And the worst part for Kody, she stated all of this on camera with zero hesitation. If Christine's admissions were a blazing fire, Janelle's were ice cold. And somehow that made them even more devastating because Janelle didn't cry. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't show anger or bitterness or any of the emotions Kody might have expected. She simply stated facts, and those facts painted a picture of a marriage that had been deceased for months without Kody even realizing it. Janelle sat there composed and matter of fact and disclosed that Kody hasn't been in her house in 10 months. 10 whole months. Not for holidays, not for birthdays, not to see their children. He just stopped coming. And the way Janelle portrayed it, she didn't seem wounded by his absence. She seemed relieved. She informed Christine that she doesn't really think she's even married anymore, that they haven't had the official conversation, but the relationship is clearly over. Then came the moment that had to cut deeper than anything else. Christine asked Janelle directly if she missed Kody, and Janelle's response was swift and definitive. No, she doesn't miss Kody. She doesn't miss Robyn either. The only people she misses from the family are Christine and her children. The husband who was supposed to be the foundation of their entire family structure has become so irrelevant to Janelle's happiness that his absence doesn't even register as a loss, But here's where Janelle's calm delivery became absolutely savage. She portrayed the day of their massive fight in December when Kody completely lost it and started screaming at her. He accused her of gaslighting him, informed her she'd been making decisions without consulting him, and basically unloaded years of resentment in one explosive confrontation. And Janelle just let him leave. She didn't chase after him. She didn't try to repair it. She drove around town afterward and realized she felt lighter, liberated, like a burden had been removed off her shoulders. That realization is probably the most humiliating aspect for Kody. He stormed out thinking he was making some grand statement, asserting his authority, demonstrating who's boss. But Janelle didn't crumble. She didn't beg him to return. She felt relief. Pure, undeniable relief that he was finally gone. The dramatic exit he probably thought would bring her running back to apologize. Instead gave her the freedom she didn't even know she needed. Janelle admitted on camera that she still has affection for Kody, but she needs something different from a marriage. She's outgrown what he's capable of providing. And when Christine asked if Kody changing would make Janelle want a full marriage with him again, Janelle stated yes, but immediately followed it up by stating it's unrealistic. She doesn't think he's capable of change. She thinks this is just who he's always been, and she's finally seeing him clearly. The most brutal part, Janelle stated she can't think of any reason she'd want him to return at this point. Not one single reason. But the humiliation was far from over because next they addressed his accusations directly. Kody apparently thought he had the ultimate weapon when he accused Janelle of being a bad sister wife. He probably expected her to feel ashamed, to question herself, to maybe even apologize. Instead, both Janelle and Christine absolutely dismantled that accusation on live television. And in doing so, they exposed the real problem at the heart of their failed plural marriage. Robyn. Janelle brought it up first, and you could hear the frustration in her voice. Even though she was attempting to stay calm, she informed Christine that Kody had stated she wasn't a good sister wife. And Christine's response was immediate and pointed. She stated Kody was only discussing one person, Robyn. The entire accusation had nothing to do with Janelle's relationships with Christine or Mary. It was purely about Janelle's refusal to bow down to Robyn's needs, wants, and constant victim narrative. Christine doubled down on this point, stating, that's reality, not speculation, not rumor. Just the cold, hard truth that everyone in the family knew, but nobody was allowed to state out loud until now. On national television, Christine and Janelle finally named the elephant in the room that had been destroying their family for years. Kody's definition of a good sister wife was someone who prioritized Robyn above everything else, and both women had refused to play that game. Janelle admitted she's not close with Robyn. She stated it plainly without guilt or apology. She's not close with her, never has been, and the hardest thing to overcome, the thing that makes reconciliation impossible, is the idea that Robyn has somehow been the victim in all of this. Janelle made it clear she doesn't buy that narrative, not for a second, and she doesn't think it's something she could ever get past, even if she wanted to. The way they discussed Robyn's role in the family breakdown was telling. They didn't attack her directly. They didn't call her names or make wild accusations. They simply stated facts. Kody and Robyn are living in monogamy. That's not an opinion. That's not jealousy talking. That's observable reality. While Kody was supposed to be balancing 4 wives and maintaining a plural family, he was actually just focused on one wife and her children, letting everyone else fall by the wayside. Christine pointed out that the accusation of being a bad sister wife was absurd because she and Janelle are actually excellent sister wives to each other. They've maintained a strong, supportive, loving relationship through all of this chaos. They're raising their children together. They're planning futures together. They're everything sister wives are supposed to be. The only difference is they're doing it without Kody's involvement or approval. Janelle even joked that they'll have more fun now being sister wives without all the other crazy dynamics, and Christine agreed, stating they'll always be sister wives forever. It's a bond that Kody can't break no matter how hard he tries. But then they dropped an even bigger bombshell about Kody and Robyn's so-called plural marriage. For years, viewers have watched the show and noticed something glaringly obvious. Kody Brown isn't practicing plural marriage anymore. He's living in monogamy with Robyn, occasionally visiting his other wives when it's convenient, and calling it celestial. But nobody in the family was brave enough to state it out loud until Christine and Janelle decided they were done protecting his image. Christine stated it first, clear and direct. Kody and Robyn are living monogamy. They just are. There was no hesitation in her voice, no uncertainty. She stated it as a fact because that's exactly what it is. While Kody claims to be this champion of plural marriage, this man who's dedicated his life to the principle, he's actually just committed to one wife, and that wife is Robyn. Janelle backed her up immediately, adding that Mary isn't part of the equation with their family anymore either. So really, it's not even like Kody's attempting to maintain relationships with multiple wives and failing. He's actively chosen to focus all his time, energy, and attention on Robyn and her children, while everyone else gets scraps, or in Mary's case, nothing at all. The way they portrayed Kody and Robyn's setup was damning. They painted a picture of a couple who are completely wrapped up in raising their children, living their lives, existing in their own little bubble, while the rest of the family falls apart around them. And the crazy part, Kody apparently doesn't even see the problem. He still considers himself a plural husband, even though he's only acting like a husband to one woman. Christine brought up something that really highlighted the absurdity of the situation. She mentioned how Robyn tried to use their old church doctrine to question whether Christine's departure was valid. Robyn brought up ecclesiastical authority, suggesting that Christine couldn't just leave without approval from church leadership. But here's the kicker that made Robyn's argument completely fall apart. None of them are part of that church anymore. Not Christine, not Janelle. And when Christine asked if all the adults had left the church, Janelle confirmed that nobody's been to church together in years. So Robyn was grasping at religious rules that nobody in the family follows anymore, attempting to find some way to invalidate Christine's choice to leave. And Christine saw right through it. She stated Robyn was thinking that Christine's ability to just walk away invalidated her own marriage, like it put teeth back into their spiritual agreements or something. It was a desperate move from someone watching the entire family structure collapse and realizing her position as favorite wife means nothing if there are no other wives to be favored over. Janelle added that in their faith, spiritual marriages mean more than legal marriages. They're supposed to be eternal, binding, sacred. But what value do those spiritual marriages hold when the husband is only honoring one of them, when he's only showing up for one wife, only prioritizing one family, only acting married to one woman? The hypocrisy was laid bare for everyone to see, and the hits just kept coming. Every failed marriage has a breaking point. That one moment where everything changes and there's no going back. For Janelle and Kody, that moment happened around December 16th. And when Janelle portrayed it on camera, you could practically feel the tension that must have filled that room. Janelle informed Christine she hadn't mentioned the fight before because everything was still too fresh, too raw. She didn't even know what it meant at the time. But now, months later, with some distance and clarity, she was ready to discuss the day Kody completely lost control and showed her exactly who he'd become. She portrayed Kody as completely yelling at her, not just raising his voice or getting frustrated, completely yelling, screaming accusations, pointing fingers, unleashing years of pent-up resentment all at once. He accused her of gaslighting him, of making decisions without consulting him, of not supporting him all these years. The fight was so intense, so explosive that Janelle admitted she was stunned when he finally left. But here's what makes this fight different from all the others they probably had over the years. Janelle didn't fight back. She didn't try to defend herself or explain her side. She just informed him she was done listening to him. When he kept going, kept yelling, she simply stated they were done. Goodbye, and she let him walk out. Kody probably thought he was making some powerful statement. He was asserting his authority as the head of the family, putting Janelle in her place, demonstrating that he wouldn't tolerate her disrespect anymore. He stormed out expecting her to realize her mistake, to call him back, to beg for another chance to be a good wife. Instead, Janelle got in her car and drove around town feeling lighter than she had in years. She portrayed it as a burden being removed off her shoulders. The man she'd devoted over 2 decades with had just screamed at her, accused her of terrible things, and walked out of her life, and her first emotion was relief. Not sadness, not fear about the future, not worry about how they'd repair things, just pure, beautiful relief that he was finally gone. Christine was shocked when Janelle informed her this story. She asked if Janelle had been heartbroken, if she'd cried, if she'd been devastated by the fight, and Janelle's answer was essentially no. She'd been stunned in the moment, sure, but heartbroken? Not even close. The only time Janelle remembered crying about her marriage ending was when Christine left because she was worried about losing her sister wife and their children's relationships. She shed tears over Christine. But Kody, he didn't even warrant that level of emotion. That realization had to be completely devastating for Kody to hear. His dramatic exit, his big moment of righteous anger, his attempt to demonstrate Janelle who was boss, It all backfired spectacularly because she didn't care. She was relieved he was gone, and while Kody was probably sulking at home, Christine and Janelle were living their best lives. While Kody sits at home observing his empire crumble, Christine and Janelle are out living their absolute best lives, and they ensured to showcase just how much fun they're having without him all over national television. Road trips, adventures, quality time with their children, everything Kody's version of plural marriage was supposed to provide but never did. Christine invited Janelle up to Idaho to visit her brother's family, and what should have been a simple visit transformed into this beautiful moment of freedom and friendship. They went out on all-terrain vehicles, something Janelle had never done before in her entire life, and Christine portrayed watching Janelle take control of that machine, operating it confidently, leaving everyone else in the dust and just having the time of her life. Christine stated she was so proud of Janelle for taking control and taking charge, for having fun, and just going for it. And you could hear the emotion in her voice when she discussed wishing that, for Janelle, in all aspects of her life, taking charge of her own happiness, having some fun, going for it without waiting for permission or approval from anyone else. Janelle admitted it was so much fun that she was glad they made the trip. This woman who devoted decades putting everyone else's needs first, who sacrificed her own happiness to make plural marriage succeed, was finally doing something just for herself, and she loved it. The smile on her face, the joy in her voice. It was clear she's discovering parts of herself she'd buried for years. But the adventures didn't stop there. Christine and Janelle were organizing road trips together, discussing traveling during holidays instead of being stuck in Flagstaff dealing with family drama. They were making plans for their futures that didn't include Kody at all. No consultations, no asking permission, no waiting around for him to decide when he had time for them. Just two women constructing the lives they want on their own terms. Christine even helped Janelle relocate to North Carolina, operating a massive moving truck across the country to help her start this new chapter. Janelle purchased over 150 acres with her daughter Maddie and son-in-law Caleb. They're constructing homes, starting a flower farm, establishing something beautiful and meaningful that belongs entirely to them. And Christine was right there supporting her every step of the way. The bond between them was on full display during that move. Christine and her partner David showed up to help, ensuring Janelle didn't have to handle the stress alone. They were laughing together, joking about being like Thelma and Louise going on an adventure. Janelle even stated it feels like girl power, woman power. Two women who were supposed to compete for one man's attention have instead chosen to support each other and construct something better together. Meanwhile, Kody's left observing all of this unfold on television, watching the two wives he thought he controlled living freely without him, watching them flourish in ways they never could under his authority. But perhaps the most humiliating moment was still to come, when Robyn tried to use religion to stop them. Robyn Brown apparently thought she had the perfect defense when Christine left. She tried to pull out the religious card, suggesting that Christine couldn't just walk away from a spiritual marriage without proper ecclesiastical authority. It was a desperate attempt to delegitimize Christine's choice to make it seem like her departure didn't really count. But that argument fell apart spectacularly when Christine and Janelle exposed the truth on national television. Janelle brought up the comment Robyn had made, explaining how in their old church, you needed approval from church leadership to get spiritually divorced. The head of the church had to agree to sever your celestial marriage. It wasn't something you could just decide on your own. There were counseling sessions, official procedures, a whole process designed to keep people locked into their spiritual commitments. But here's where Robyn's argument completely crumbled. Christine asked a very simple question. Aren't all the adults not in the church anymore? And Janelle confirmed what everyone already suspected. Nobody's been to church together in years. None of them. Not Christine, not Janelle, not Kody, and presumably not Robyn either, though she was conveniently attempting to use church doctrine she no longer followed to trap Christine in a marriage she no longer wanted. Christine was completely clear about her position. She stated there's no ecclesiastical authority she believes in that would sever her relationship with Kody, and she didn't need one because she doesn't follow that church anymore. She doesn't subscribe to their rules or their authority. So, Robyn bringing up church doctrine was completely meaningless. It was just noise, a desperate attempt to find some technicality that would make Christine's departure invalid. Janelle speculated that Robyn might have been thinking Christine's ability to just leave somehow invalidated her own marriage. Like, if Christine could walk away without consequences, What did that mean for the spiritual marriages that were supposed to be eternal and binding? What teeth did those agreements have if anyone could just decide they were done? Christine saw right through Robyn's motivation. She understood that Robyn was reacting from fear, like a deer in headlights, watching the entire family structure collapse. Because if Christine could leave, if Janelle could leave, if these spiritual marriages weren't actually binding, then what security did Robyn really have? What guarantee that Kody wouldn't eventually discard her the same way he discarded everyone else? The irony is almost painful. Robyn was attempting to use religious authority to keep Christine trapped, but in doing so, she revealed just how fragile her own position really is. She needs those spiritual marriage rules to mean something, because without them, she's just another wife who could be replaced or abandoned whenever Kody gets bored. Christine made it clear that Robyn's concerns were irrelevant. Her leaving didn't invalidate anyone else's choices. It was simply her exercising the freedom she'd always had, but never felt brave enough to use. And now that she had, there was no going back. But the final humiliation was the most powerful statement of all. The ultimate slap in the face to Kody Brown came when Christine and Janelle reclaimed the very term he constructed his entire identity around: sister wives. For years, that phrase represented Kody's vision, his family, his legacy. But on live television, Christine and Janelle took it back and made it entirely about them, without him, without his permission, without any acknowledgement that he ever mattered to the equation at all. Christine stated it first with absolute certainty in her voice: "We'll always be sister wives." And Janelle agreed immediately, reflecting the sentiment with her own conviction. They weren't asking Kody's opinion. They weren't seeking his approval. They were simply stating a fact. Their bond as sister wives would continue forever, regardless of what happened with their marriages to him. Christine even joked about future relationships, stating that whoever she remarries will just have to accept that Janelle comes as a package deal. They'll always be sister wives. It's non-negotiable. The next man in Christine's life will have to understand that her connection to Janelle is permanent, sacred, and more important than any romantic relationship could ever be. Janelle characterized their relationship as cemented together, stating nothing would separate them, and Christine reflected that sentiment, calling their bond something that can't be broken. They've raised children together. They've supported each other through the hardest moments of their lives. They've chosen each other over and over again, even when it would have been easier to walk away. The beauty of what they established is that it's everything Kody's version of plural marriage was supposed to be but never was. It's based on mutual respect, genuine friendship, and unwavering support. They're not competing for attention or resources. They're not tearing each other down to win favor with a man who couldn't appreciate either of them. They're simply two women who love each other's families and want to construct a life together. Christine discussed how when the show first went public, the term sister wives felt like something they shouldn't be sharing far and wide. But now she loves it because so many people reach out calling their close friends sister wives. The term has evolved beyond Kody's narrow definition. It represents women working together for the good of a family, supporting each other through life's challenges, choosing each other as chosen family. And that's exactly what Christine and Janelle have become. They're not sister wives because they share a husband. They're sister wives because they choose to be. Because their connection transcends whatever romantic relationships they had with Kody, because they're better together than they ever were as part of his plural family. Kody constructed his entire identity around being the patriarch of a large plural family. He wrote a book about it. He starred in a television show about it. He presented himself as this expert on making plural marriage succeed. And now the two wives who actually understood what sisterhood meant have taken his concept and made it better without him. So, here's the bottom line. Drop your thoughts below. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned. The next video is waiting, and you won't believe what's coming next.